Good morning, my dear friends. My name is Enrique Kashyap, and today I am going to tell you about this book that I issued from the library. So actually, I had to issue a maths exercise book so that I could understand maths better. But there were no maths book in the library, so I issued this. And there was one other reason as well, because I didn't have the list that I had to issue from the library at that special time, and the list was in my diary, and that diary was in my class. And when I was in the class, ma'am said to go in the library, so I couldn't take out my diary. So I issued this book. This is Spirit Animals Special Edition, the book of Shane. So the part I've read, it is saying that Shane is a boy, and according to the title, I'm guessing that this book is about Shane, that boy whose name is Shane. So at first it is written, "The world is ours," and actually this is a game. This is a book which also collaborates with a game, and this is from Scholastic. It is written scholastic.com/spiritanimals. Then there is given a code to do it. The authors of this book are like, many people are in part of this book, but the person who wrote this, many people are in a part of writing the books for spirit animals, but the person who wrote this particular book is T.U.I.T. Sutherland. Stories, introduction by T.U.I.T. Sutherland. Stories by Nick Eliopoulos. So, who is Shane? So, at first it is written, who is Shane? We are not told that who is Shane. Shane is a boy and all this. It is starting from a scene. It isn't very often that a gorilla and octopus have a polite conversation. It's trickier still when that gorilla is trapped in a cage made of ancient altars on an enormous rock in the middle of a sun-baked desert. So the gorilla is actually trapped in the middle of a rock in the middle of the sun-baked of a desert, while the octopus lives in the depths of the unknowable ocean. But Kovo and Mulop are two of the great beasts of Eradus. After all, so set aside your questions and imagine the scene. Wait a second. This part of my leg is itching a lot. Nah, it's okay. The colossal gorilla hugged his shoulders, burying furious teeth at the prison around him. The sun beat down mercilessly, adding weight to his shaggy black fur until it went as oppressive as the altars themselves. Overhead, an eagle seemed to be in the molten air. But Halvir's pity was essentially useless to Kovo. So basically, the Kovo is the name of the giant gorilla, and Mulop is the name of the octopus, and Halvir is the name of the giant eagle. And if you don't know who Halvir is, actually Halvir is one of the great beasts. Okay, just like Mulop and Kovo, Halvir is also one of the great beasts. He is actually an eagle, but he is one of the great beasts. And then he felt a touch, like a soft tentacle brushing against his brain. "Get out," Kovo growled, Hello, hello, said a deep voice, like bubbles drifting slowly toward the surface. It had been a long time, has it not? Has it not? Yes, a long time for a dark soul to be imprisoned, making sinister plans. But it will not be long enough, I think. No, it will not be forever. Although it should be. Covers nodded, almost chuckling. It, it is that you are. It is what you foresee. My bloating blob, my escape from here, my glorious triumph over all of the Eredus, because that's what I see in my dreams every night. I don't need a mystical foresight to promise that that's what's coming. The octopus made a small humming sound. Something along those lines it is a strange and terrible time ahead. I do see that, and so do I. Yes. But tell me about this boy king I see at the center of all these plans. Aha, yes. Cow snarled, grinning. The boy king of Sterleon, a villain through and through. The perfect choice to destroy the world and hand it over to me. Said Mullop again. Is that so? Such a puzzle. Such a puzzle. A villain all the way through, you think? I didn't know such humans existed. No, indeed, I thought there were measures of good and bad in each of them. Ha! The gorilla turned in awkward circles, scraping his hide against the points of the altars. Sorry. I know this boy, Shane. He's a traitor and liar. He burns with vengeance and thirst for power. He's the perfect puppet for me and Gerathon. So here, the Gerathon is the name of a snake, and that snake is also one of the great beasts. And no one will care when we finally crush him and toss him aside. I think we will need care. I think some will care, muttered Mullop. He's a brother who loves and fears his sister. He's a friend to a brave green cloak who cares about him. But she's a fool, Kovo cut in. She doesn't know the real Shane. And you do? The tentacles fluttered around the corners of Kovo's mind again. Light and slithering, I see a young prince who mourns his family. I see a king who wants to save his people. I see a boy who will regret his mistakes and who will miss his only true friend. I see the devourer. Kovo's eyes glinted with ambition. Striding to glory beside his fearsome giant crocodile, leading an army of conquerors to destroy a world, a pawn who will get me everything. But who will always be a creature of the bile? Someone we can control whenever we need to. How does someone become such a threat? The octopus asked. I have wondered and wondered such a thing. Here's another thing to wonder about and through. When the war is over, what happens to the most hated person in Eredus? Who cares? The gorilla laughed and rolled across the barren landscape like thunder, sending geckos scrambling into their holes in terror. When the war is over, I'll be done with him. But what happens to villains when they fall? Mullop's voice seemed to oozing in the cracks of Kovo's brain. You're one example, I suppose, imprisoned and furious for the rest of eternity. This eternity is going to be shorter than anyone expects, Kovo snarled. What becomes a king who has lost his arm? What becomes of a king who has lost his army and his country? What becomes of a boy who has betrayed his only friend and knows it? These are among the few things I don't know, although I think upon them. You don't need to know. Kovo's meaty hands slammed on the walls of his cage, cutting sharp lines of blood across his palms. We're not going to fall. Shane will either continue to be our puppet, or if he's too much trouble, we'll kill him. We'll see, and so shall we, said Mulab in his vague, irritating way. It will be a fascinating story. Can the devourer even ever be forgiven? Is there still a soul in there with any hope of redemption? No, growled Cover. Villains are what they are. Nobody is the villain of their own story, Mulab said reprovingly. One thing I know is that even you don't see yourself that way. True, the gorilla chuckled again, low and sinister. I have my reasons for the choices I make, but I am the future ruler of all of Erebus. This boy king is nobody. I am quite certain, said Mulab, that he would I'm quite certain that he would disagree. I'm quite certain, said Kovo, that I don't agree. Someone might care. If someone were listening to with an open mind and someone could see how complicated Shane's story is, perhaps they would see much more of this Shane than anyone has. Perhaps the enormous gorilla with a snort, said the enormous gorilla with a snort. If anybody cared enough to tell the story of the boy king of Sterlion, it won't be me. He borrowed his head back to the prescient, blopping voice of the giant octopus. Someone must care to tell it, and said Mulab, though thoughtfully, perfectly happy to have his own conversation with himself instead, and someone must care to hear it. Perhaps then, if they know everything and he was and will be, they can decide for themselves who Shane really is. Traitor, liar, revolver, failure, puppet, defeated fool. Or a boy who thought he was the hero of his own story, who makes terrible mistakes and has to find a way to move forward when everything goes wrong for him. I think the stories will be told, and I think the readers will decide. In the end, who is Shane after all? Then starts the part 1. But in this video, I only told you who Shane is. The conversation between Kovo and Mulab. So that's all for today's video. Bye and have a nice day. Please like and subscribe to my channel. No, like this video and subscribe this channel.